Speaker Gillum, President Dismang, members of the Arkansas General Assembly, thank you for coming together in response to my call for this extraordinary session of the legislature. As you know, the overriding and primary concern of this session is to deal with the need of highway funding here in Arkansas to make sure that we have adequate funding for our highways, roads, and infrastructure. Now, as you know, there's been a few other items added to the agenda. And I know you like history, though. There have been 36 special sessions since 1966. The average number of items on each call is approximately 34. Governor Rockefeller ranged from a low of 26 items to a high of 72. Governor Clinton, in one session, had 104 items, and another special session had 285. Senator Dismang and Speaker Gillum, I want to assure you I'm not going to do that. Governor Tucker had a high of 44 items. Governor Huckabee had one with 35 items. Governor Beebe slowed it down, and it averaged 6 items per special call. And I think the lesson from that history, at least what I would derive from that, is that during times of change in our country and during times of reform in our state, there are times for extraordinary needs for legislative action. And there is an extraordinary need for legislative action today that justifies this call of the special legislature. As you know, the federal highway plan that Congress enacted provides for $200 million more in additional revenue for our highways for Arkansas, provided we make the match. I just came from a meeting of other governors, and they're all scrambling as to how they can meet that match. Some do not have the support of the legislature to accomplish that, and they will lose that funding. Arkansas is not in that boat. Arkansas has a way of meeting that match, but it will take your action to accomplish that objective. We need those matching dollars. And just to reflect back for a moment, this started with the creation of the Highway Working Group that met regularly for 6 months or more, came up with a list of suggestions and items and options as to how we can, both in short term and long term, meet the needs of our highways in Arkansas. I rejected some, I adopted some, I incorporated them, but many of the ideas that form the Arkansas Highway Improvement Plan of 2016 generated from that working group and generated from ideas from this body. They've incorporated into this plan surrounding a premise that we need to meet the matching funds. We need to have a flow of money to our highway department, and we do not need to raise taxes. That was the premise, that was the foundation of it, and that arrived at the highway plan that will be introduced for your consideration during this session. Let me emphasize, and I want to particularly call out Representative Andy Davis for a second. I see him, who did an incredible job in helping shape the working group and some of the ideas and recommendations that came out of this plan. Thank you, Andy, for your leadership. I want to emphasize a couple of points. This is not a one-time fix. Some of you would like to characterize this as a one-time fix, then we'll move on and do something else. And there's always the option of doing something different down the road. That's why we meet from time to time. There's always a constant debate. There's always a way to look at doing more. But I do not view this as a one-time fix. It's a plan to meet our match for the next 5 years or more. Secondly, it will allow us to address our immediate funding needs without raising taxes. And people say, well, why are you so fixated on that? Well, fundamentally, I don't believe it's the right time to raise taxes for Arkansans that are enjoying a lower gas price at the pump. They got more money in their pocket, they're enjoying that, they're able to spend, they're able to do things for their family. I don't want to take that away from them. Secondly, as a political reality, it would be difficult without going to the voters for this body to adopt an increase in taxes. And so that's the right approach. It's the approach that I'm presenting to you. The third thing it will do, we've got to keep our focus on, is that passing the Arkansas Highway Improvement Plan of 2016 will allow the state of Arkansas to access $1 billion in highway funds over the next 5 years. That is important for our state. It is not something that every other state can do, but we can do it here in the state of Arkansas. And then the legislation will also improve the communication between the Highway Department and the General Assembly. While complying with the Mack-Blackwell Amendment, and I'm a little bit old school, I still call it the Mack-Blackwell Amendment, that provided the independence, the structure of the current Highway Commission. The legislative oversight that is created in the improvement plan complies with the Mack-Blackwell Amendment because it provides for a review of rules and reports to the legislature, but no approval is required. And that is something that was negotiated between the Highway Commission, their leadership, and the General Assembly. I think it's a fair balance that has been achieved that provides more information. And when you have more information, that means that you're going to have more knowledge, you're going to have more understanding of the process, there's going to be more transparency, and ultimately that will build more public support for what our Highway Commission is doing and exercising their extraordinary responsibilities. And so, as you know, the details of it, it's going to provide for a transfer of investment earnings from the Arkansas Treasury of $1.5 million this year, and then thereafter increasing to $20 million in year 2, 3, and 4, and $25 million in year 5. That's a significant amount of money. This year, in addition, we'll transfer $40 million of surplus funds that have already been set aside. In the future, we will allocate 25% of surplus thereafter toward our highway needs and by transfer to the Highway Department via the Highway Transfer Fund. Now you say, well, that's unreliable, that's not predictable in the future. Well, there's always some uncertainty in surpluses, but one, you know that we manage our budget conservatively, and that's something we take great pride in the state of Arkansas. And secondly, we have a growing economy. Now, we aren't always guaranteed a growing economy, but we manage conservatively. And right now, in today's paper, it was talked about that we have currently a $160 to $180 million surplus. And so that will be applied in FY18. And if you take 25% of that, you're already at $40 million. You combine that with the Treasury earnings and the other funds, you're at $68 million in FY18 already. And so this is a realistic approach to making sure that we can have a continuity and an ability to meet those matching funds each year. And so that's the essence of the Highway Improvement Plan that I have presented. As I mentioned, there are a few other items on the call. Let me just address a couple of those. I will not address all of them. One is the efficiency bill. This is driven by legislators that say we've got to do more in terms of efficiency. Your working groups, combined with some of the ideas from the governor's office, that result in a comprehensive efficiency bill that will provide an end date to 11 task forces, commissions, and boards. This is what the Arkansas taxpayers expect us to do. It will also transfer the Arkansas History Commission to the Arkansas Department of Heritage. Why are we doing this? Because it will promote archival access. I love history. You like history. We want to promote history. We want to make sure that the public has access to the archives of the state of Arkansas. But it's also a matter of proper alignment. I simply believe that the Arkansas Department of History, the History Commission, is properly aligned within the Department of Heritage. You can market it better, you can sell it better, you can provide better access. It's a good fit. The efficiency bill also does something that's important for our foster care system. It provides efficiencies within the Department of Child and Family Services by removing some paperwork requirements for caseworkers. Is that not a good thing? It's consistent with both our efficiency efforts and your desire to support the foster children of this state. Another bill that's been presented to you is the merger of Crowley's Ridge Technical Institute into East Arkansas Community College. There's one simple motivation to put this on the call, and that is that we provide greater access for our students to financial aid, greater access to courses, and greater access to services. It is the right thing to do for our students, and that's why it is presented. There's the levy bill, and we recognize in the flooding in recent months and years that our levy system in Arkansas is not adequate. Many of our levy boards have been gone by the wayside. They need to be reconstituted. We need authority to accomplish that. The levy bill provides that, as well as greater transparency and information flow from our levy boards to the Department of Natural Resources, so we can start understanding better what is needed in our state for the future. There's the Frank Boyles Publicity Rights Protection Act that provides, and this is a leftover from the last session. It is simply one of the vetoes that I did that you sustained because, in my view, it did not provide sufficient protection for amateur photographers across the state. You remember that. Well, the bill has been revised. The bill now has the support of the photographers across Arkansas, as well as other groups. It's a consensus bill, provides property right in photographs of citizens, and prevents unauthorized commercial use. There's the private security licensing bill. This was driven by legislators that says this is an urgent matter for some of the businesses within your district, so that as we have transferred the security licensing to the Arkansas State Police, we need to adjust to make sure we're clear and provide clarification on what are the requirements for a security license. This bill accomplishes that. It should be a consensus bill. We've addressed a problem that's been nagging in our state for over a decade, and that is the declining fund and increased liability of the Death and Permanent Disability Fund of our Workers' Compensation Commission. We cannot ignore it. We have to address it. This legislation does it. If it's not addressed, that the whole fund will go bankrupt in 6 to 8 years. And so we are addressing that. It has significant support. I applaud everybody for working together with the business leaders, with labor, to assure that when the fund ends, we'll not only have a reduction in the premium tax, but that all the people who are relying upon that will be paid and cared for. We have another piece of legislation that provides a pause on grading of our public schools and a pause for putting schools in academic distress. The reason for this is that we're in transition to adopt new accountability system that works for our schools. The federal government has given us more flexibility to accomplish this. And so we want to pause for a year so we're not putting more schools in academic distress during that year, but at the same time, we will allow people to come off of academic distress. And so it's a fair pause so that we can put into place a new accountability system. It will be well received by our schools. There are other items from juvenile records use for research and other items, but this session, besides the importance of those other items that I mentioned, this session is principally and primarily to adopt a funding mechanism for our highways. And I want to applaud those in this body that have said, well, I've got a different idea that I feel strongly about. That's what your job is as legislators. I have no problem with that, and I applaud you for putting those ideas on the table. But I do believe that there's one idea that has an opportunity to pass this body, that has the support and will accomplish the objective of providing $1 billion in total highway funding over the next 5 years, and that is the Arkansas Highway Improvement Plan. Other ideas that are out there can be considered, can be debated, they can be put on in additional legislative sessions, or they can be put to a vote of the people. But this is the primary purpose, is to accomplish the immediate and extraordinary need of meeting the federal match by this highway improvement plan. It has the support of the Highway Commission, recognizing that need and this solution, the Good Roads Foundation, Arkansas Association of Counties. And so, ladies and gentlemen of the General Assembly, thank you for your spirit. One thing that is special in Arkansas is not just our incredible geography, the growing economy, the low unemployment rate, and all that we're doing, but it is a political system that allows us to debate, to talk in civility, and to accomplish great things for this state. I enjoy working with you. I applaud your commitment to the people of this state. God bless your efforts, and let's go home in 3 days. Thank you.